Hi everybody, and welcome to Math 1350, Introduction to Statistics. My name is Lane McConnell, and I'm going to be your instructor this semester. I'm creating this video in order to give you a rundown of exactly what to expect in the course, lay out what the timeline and schedule is going to look like, and go over the policies and regarding grades and things like that in the syllabus. The first thing I want to do, though, is allow you to become a little bit familiar with the Brightspace page because we're going to be using this a ton. So I am logged into it right now. You probably already had to log into Brightspace to get to this video. But if you're unfamiliar with it, and if you access this video in another manner, you get into Brightspace by going to mycourses.cnm.edu, as I've highlighted up here in the URL up here in the address bar on my browser. But this is the home page for this course. There's a bunch of important information, even starting right on this first page. For example, on the right-hand side, I have my instructor profile. It has important and relevant information such as my email address, which is the best way to get in contact with me if you have any questions throughout the semester. And it also has my office hours, which include a session via Zoom that's going to be on Mondays from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., as well as in person if you happen to be on main campus on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm going to be holding office hours here from 10 to 11:15 in the morning on those days as well. If these office hours don't work for you, send me an email and we can find another arrangement, another time to meet. But back to everything that we've got going on here. When you first start off this course, the place you're going to want to start off with is the overview and syllabus. And to access that, the easiest way is to go up to here where it says coursework, click on that, and then select the top option, which is the content. And this is all of the content for the course that's going to be available here. It'll open up a page that looks like this. For you, it may default to this overview and syllabus unless you've already putzed around in here a bit. But this is what I want to click on first, is this top option here, overview and syllabus. You will notice, though, that along the left side, there's a whole bunch of other options, including this Getting Started module, where this video is located, learning modules. This will be where all of the content for the course, including lecture videos, is contained throughout the semester. And then down as time goes on, we'll also have a project, exams, and you can access course resources, things like that, all on this left-hand menu bar. But when it comes to the overview and syllabus, I'm going to scroll down to the syllabus itself, which is right down here. Take a look at this and go through it carefully. I'm going to go through it with you now. And just to make it a little easier to see, because this is kind of tiny, let me just bring it up as a PDF here. So here's that same syllabus, just zoomed in a little bit so it's easier to read. So it has a lot of that same information that showed up on the introduction page to the course, including my email and office hours. And it also has a course description. And so we'll just go through this in order. I'm going to save most of this for the actual lecture videos that we'll have throughout the semester, but to give you an idea of what to expect from this course. In a statistics course, I like to think of it as sort of two separate components. There's a statistics component, obviously, hence the name of the course, that is backwards looking, and I'll describe what I mean by that in just a minute, as well as a probability component, which is forward looking. And we bring these two components together. So let me just expand on that just a little bit. You'll hear a lot more about this in the first lecture video, but I figure never too early to introduce this topic. So most of the time when we talk about statistics, the idea is that we are looking at data that has already been collected. And that's what I mean by backward looking. We're dealing with data that already has been collected. And so we're going to start off this course focusing on statistics, how to collect data, what types of sampling methods to use, what types of data to look at. And then we'll move on from the backward-looking portion to start to try to synthesize and describe this data. And that's where statistics comes in. The role of statistics, one field of statistics is called descriptive statistics, and that's where we describe or summarize that data that we've collected. From there, we'll move on to trying to come up with models based on that data. for how we think things fit together, how we think things work. And then we'll use those models to try to make predictions, probabilistic predictions about what we think will probably happen in the future. And so this is going to be the way that this course comes together. We'll start off with the backwards looking portion, different types of data, how do we collect it? Then we'll move on to how do we synthesize and analyze that data, and what conclusions can we draw from it? Once we draw those conclusions and come up with rules that we think of how this data was created, we'll then apply those rules in a forward-looking manner via probability to try to make guesses about what we think will happen in the future. And in a very big picture overview, that is this entire class in a nutshell. So let me cut it off there because you're going to hear a ton more about that as the semester progresses. And let's move on within the syllabus. The next thing that comes up are these student learning outcomes. These contain a ton of statistical jargon and terminology that you probably are unfamiliar with unless you've already taken a statistics course. No need to worry about that. We're going to gloss over most of this for now, but by the end of the semester, you'll know what pretty much everything in here means and have a good grasp on all of these topics. So if you want to use it as maybe a reference guide before you're preparing to study for an exam to make sure you didn't miss anything, this might be worth referencing, but otherwise this is all stuff that's upcoming. We'll worry about it when we get there. So let's get to the stuff that you probably do care about, and that starts with the textbook and materials for this course. The textbook is an ebook of a book called Elementary Statistics by Navidi and Monk, and it is already available for you to access. You've already paid for it. It's included in the registration fee for the course, so you already have access to this on day one via a software program called Alex, and I'll show you that in just a little bit. But long story short, you've already got the book. Do not pay for the book again. It's already included. If you're one of the old school people that really likes a tangible, physical paper copy of the book, you can purchase one of those optionally, completely up to you. I think they sell them at the bookstore. It's just like a loose leaf thing with 3 holes punched in it that you can put in a 3-ring binder. I want to say it costs maybe 20 or 30 bucks. I'm not sure. Those prices may have changed. Hopefully you don't even need it. And you'll be fine with just the lecture videos that I provide throughout the course. One other really important thing that you're going to need for this class is a graphing calculator. Specifically, the one that I'm requiring is a TI-84. But any variation of that will work. There are TI-84s, TI-84 Pluses, TI-84 Silver Edition, and then older models, TI-83 and 83 Plus. All of those are more or less interchangeable. Any of those will work. So if you have a graphing calculator already, great. Utilize one of those. But I'm going to be going through the steps needed on a graphing calculator to solve various problems throughout the semester. So we're going to be utilizing this quite a bit. That said, they're really, really expensive. One of these graphing calculators, I think they're like 120 bucks or something like that. So ideally, you don't have to purchase one. And so let me give you some other options. Option 1, you already own it. Great. Option 2, you know somebody that owns one and you borrow it. Totally fine. It happens all the time. That's how I got through my first math class, was borrowing somebody else's calculator. So if you know somebody that has one of these, a friend or a relative, ask them if you can borrow it. That would be great as well. And lastly, there are apps that you can download on either your iPhone or Android-based phone that will emulate the calculator. They basically, on your screen, will pull it up. It'll look exactly like the calculator. The buttons will be in all the same places. All the functions will be identical. And you can utilize one of those for all of the homework throughout this course to follow along with the videos that I do. That said, the one caveat with using one of these apps is I cannot let you use your phone on exams. And so as a workaround, you can basically download one of these apps. They're cheap. I think, anywhere from $3 to $6, something like that. Utilize it for the homework, become familiar with the button layout of the calculator, and then for the actual exams, you can come into one of the CNM's libraries and check out a graphing calculator. All you need is your CNM ID, and they'll let you borrow a calculator. I don't remember if it used to be for just a few hours, like 4 hours or something like that, but I think recently they may have extended up to a full 24 hours. So I'm not sure their policy kind of changes, but that'd be a really good way to do it. Don't buy a calculator, just use the app for the homework, and then only for exams. Come in and take your exam on campus and just borrow a calculator from the library for the time that you need it and then return it. So that would be an option as well. But long story short, this calculator is going to be really, really, really handy throughout the semester. So find one of those options that works for you. As a very last resort, and it's not something I recommend, there will be a spreadsheet available on the exams that works fairly well. And throughout the semester, I will be showing you how to do all of the relevant calculations using Microsoft Excel as well. The functions in Excel are the same as in like a Google Docs spreadsheet. If you're familiar with that instead, Google Sheets, I think they call it. So that will work as well, and you can use that on the exams. It doesn't work perfectly on the exams. I'd strongly recommend the calculator. So just let me know if you have any questions, send me an email if you want clarification on any of these options. As we move on, a bunch of semi-relevant stuff. Attendance. This is an online course. You do it basically whenever is convenient for you, but make sure you stay on top of things. So I'm going to skip over this. It's more relevant to an in-person class. And let's move to, here we go. The registration deadlines for this course. These are going to be important if you decide that the class is starting to feel overwhelming. The first drop deadline, where you can drop the class without even taking a W, you get your tuition reimbursed, all that good stuff. It's like you never took the class. That date is September 11th, so you have about 2 weeks to figure it out. And then the last date to drop the class with a W is November 3rd. And at that point, we will have completed one exam, and I think be coming up on our second exam. You should have a pretty good grasp on where you sit in the class when that comes up. There's this old COVID policy. I'm going to skip through it because, again, it's not really relevant to any of you. I will just say, if you plan on coming to campus, make sure you check in on whatever their recent details are. Right now, it's pretty much back to normal. Don't need to wear a mask. I'd strongly recommend one if you're not feeling well. Please wear a mask so you don't get other people sick. But otherwise, it's kind of up to you at this point, I believe. The other thing that you probably really care about is the grading policy. And so let's go over that now. It's a standard grading layout where an A is anything in the 90s or above, B is anything in the 80s, C is anything in the 70s. Generally speaking, if you're a really borderline grade, if you're sitting at an 89.7 or 89.8, I will round you up, so don't worry about that. But overall, this is what it looks like. The way your grade will be calculated will be based on all of these things here. So the first is homework, and that homework is going to be in that software program I mentioned earlier called Alex, and I'll introduce you to that in just a minute when we get there. But homework is going to be due every Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. So keep that as a deadline in mind throughout the semester. It's going to be weekly homeworks, and that's going to be the due dates. There will be a small amount of your grade that comes from participation. For example, we have a syllabus quiz, a few online discussion posts, not much, but just stay on top of those. They're worth 5% of your grade. We will have 2 midterms worth 15% each, and those midterms will be not entirely open note, but if you read down here, you will be allowed an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, single-sided for the midterms and double-sided for the final exam, where you can put whatever notes are relevant to you for those exams. The exams are going to be taken online via Respondus Monitor. If you want more details, I kind of glossed over that. I think I had it up here. Oh, no, I guess not. Thought I had it up there with the calculator section, but either way, let me stop scrolling, get back to where I need to be. There we go. Respondus Monitor is basically an online proctoring system. You may already be familiar with it. It's basically something you'll have to download onto your computer, and it will record you when you take the exams. It's not a software that I like to use. It's not one that most of the instructors like to use, and it's usually not one that most of the students like to use. But we have to use it because for math specifically, our classes will not transfer, the credit won't transfer to other institution for math classes if we don't proctor a sufficient amount of the class. And so the ballpark rule for that is 50% of your grade has to come from proctored material, in this case, those exams. And this is how we get around having you come to campus in person to take exams. So you'll be using that Respondus monitor. There'll be more details about exactly how to do that later on and closer to the time that we actually take the first exam. We'll also do a dry run in week 2 where we practice just the process of taking an exam, see what that looks like using Respondus monitor, try to work out any of those kinks. If you are uncomfortable using Respondus monitor, we will have an alternative. You can opt to come to campus and take your exams at the assessment center instead. Totally fine. If you plan to do that, if you don't want to download the Respondus monitor and would rather come to campus to take the exams, just send me an email with sufficient notice at least a week or 2 before the exams so we can make arrangements and get that all squared away. Basically, you'll wind up taking them at the assessment center and you'll have to talk to me so I can send the exam over there, and then you'll have to sign up online and schedule a time to go take it within the window. So keep that all in mind as well. The rest of your grade, I already mentioned the final exam counts similar to the other exams, but the rest of your grade is made up of this project at the end of the semester. Don't worry about it for now. It's not a huge project. Should only take a few hours, and you won't even have access to it until about week 11 or 12. I don't remember. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. One other detail that I wanted to mention with that ALEKS homework that I'm going to show you in just a minute, you don't even need to get 100% on it in order to earn 100% on it. What I mean by that is what I'm going to require from you is an 80% average on the ALEKS homework. If you maintain that 80% average, at the end of the semester, I will round your homework grade all the way up to 100%. So you'll get full credit on that 30% of your homework grade. Even then, the ALEKS homework offers you unlimited attempts on all of the problems. So there's no excuse to not get full credit on the homework. You get unlimited attempts, and even if you have a busy week, something comes up in a crazy week where you can't finish the homework, as long as you maintain your overall average at 80%, you'll still wind up with full credit at the end of the semester. And that's really important because it's worth a big chunk of your grade. You'll notice it's worth as much as both of your midterms combined. So make sure to stay on top of the homework. You don't want to fall behind there. Some general stuff regarding academic integrity, all that good stuff. Classroom disruption. These are all relevant more or less if you come into campus. The one that is relevant for some of my students is people that have accommodations through the accessibility services. If you're one of those people, just let me know and we can make arrangements throughout the semester in case that affects the way that you plan on taking your tests or anything like that. So just keep me in the loop. The last thing on the syllabus that might be relevant to you is this tentative schedule, and it just kind of lays out what topics we're going to cover each week, and it also highlights which weeks will have exams and what section of those exams will cover. So overall, that's our syllabus. There is going to be a syllabus quiz to just make sure that you go, paid attention and got some information from all of this. But overall, I think that's everything that's important. So let me go back to our Brightspace page here. So I just clicked out of that PDF. We're back in Brightspace. And I just want to show you a few of the other things that are going to be relevant here. So we're just clicking around here. The place that you're going to want to go for most of the work that we do in the class is 2 places. The learning modules, which are here, and then they're broken down week by week. So there's a module for week 1, week 2, week 3, and so on. And then also ALEKS down here. This is where you'll access ALEKS, which includes your ebook and your homework problems. So let's start with the week 1 module. If I just click into where it says learning modules, it'll bring me to a page that looks like this. Let me click into that first module. And if I just scroll through this, you can either scroll through it or click to the appropriate section over here, but it'll give you a description of what we're going to cover, what steps you should be doing, and then one really important other thing is a weekly checklist. And this is a really good way to stay organized in the course. If I click on this weekly checklist, it'll show you all the stuff you need to make sure you do, for example, in week 1. So for example, go through the day 1 checklist. There's a day 1 checklist that you are going through presumably right now as you watch this video. This is one of the items on that checklist. So check that out. It'll also have links to all the relevant things. And there will be lecture videos that I've created that cover all of the relevant topics of the course. So for example, section 1.1, if I click here, I can get to that lecture video. And that lecture video is going to be similar to sort of a Khan Academy style, if you're familiar with that. There will be basically a screen with a whiteboard that I'll be writing on, and you'll hear my voice as well. I'll be talking over it, and it's going to emulate as closely as we can in an online setting, a standard sort of lecture type class. I would strongly recommend as you watch those videos that you take your own notes in a notebook. It'll be super helpful when it comes time to study for exams. So treat it as much as you can like a face-to-face class when you watch those lecture videos. Once you've watched all of the relevant lecture videos, you can then go to take your ALEKS homework. And so let's click into that now. I can click into each of those things via the links that I've got here, or alternatively, if I go back to the week 1 module, you can scroll down, and just by scrolling down, you'll get to the week 1 lecture video, and you can click in that way to access the video, for example. I do want to point out they're tiny if you watch them here. But if you get it playing, there is an option in the bottom right corner where you can it'll say, I think, watch in YouTube, and you can maximize it, make it full screen, and it's a lot easier to watch that way. You can also watch the videos sort of in fast forward. You can play it in 1.5 speed or even double speed if you want to just get through the videos quickly or just seek out a specific thing. Sometimes I talk really slowly. I'm very verbose, so feel free. Utilize the time and the resources however you want. It may help you to sort of watch the videos in a faster speed. So check out all of that. And lastly, if I go back, let me go back to the table of contents here. Let's go into ALEKS. And so I'm going to click right here. This will bring you to a page that looks like this. And again, it highlights the stuff we're going to be utilizing in ALEKS, the ebook and the homework. If I click on this, it'll bring up ALEKS, and it should take you to something where you basically just pick out this class, and for example, right, here's a whole bunch of other classes. Here's the one that is for my class. You won't have all of those, hopefully. Hopefully you'll just have my class, or maybe one other class at most if somebody else is teaching this. And you'll start with a knowledge check. This is designed to basically gauge how strong you are at the various sort of foundational math that's going to be needed in this course. Things like basic algebra, equations of lines, things of that nature that we're going to be utilizing as we learn statistics. So it's going to cover those topics and give you a sense of how prepared you are. If you feel really unprepared, there will be an optional review that you can go through to brush up your skill on those. It's not for a grade, it doesn't count, but it's can help you if you're feeling rusty in math. So I'd strongly recommend it if you feel like you don't know what you're doing. I'm not going to go through this knowledge check now. When you first do it, I would set aside about an hour to get through it. Give it a shot that way. There's an entire video just related to this setup of ALEKS that you'll get through as you go through this getting started module. But I do want to point out a couple other things. Eventually, once you get through that knowledge check, all of your assignments will show up over here on the left-hand side, anything that's upcoming, that's going to be due soon. And you can click on all of those to just get into the various homework things. You'll see that more in the ALEKS video. You can also click on this little set of lines here. Sometimes they call it the little hamburger menu, and that'll expand this left-hand side. And this is the easiest way to see where you can also access your textbook. If you do decide you want to go through and read the textbook, you can click on it here. You can order that printed version online, like I mentioned, but the ebook, if you just click on that, will pop up. Takes a minute, and you can go ahead and read the book page by page, click through, or over here, go to the table of contents and go find the relevant topic that you're interested in. So, go to section 1.1 and read this. But again, as long as you're watching my lecture videos, these will be pretty redundant. You probably won't need to use the textbook much unless you really prefer reading as your way of absorbing information, as long as you're utilizing those lecture videos that I've created for you. So that'd be my recommendation. Watch those videos first. If you feel like you just aren't absorbing the material, then come back and try reading the textbook and see how it goes. Otherwise, I think that covers pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about. I know it's a lot. There will be plenty of time for us to come back and answer more questions as we run into new things. So again, don't hesitate. Let me go back to that course homepage here. Don't hesitate to reach out. Send me emails. I'm very good about checking, especially during the week. And even on the weekends, assuming I'm not out of town or something, I still try to check and respond to emails at least once a day. So good luck with this class. Good luck with everything you got going on this semester. And let me know if you have any questions. Take care.